All right. And boom, waiting to get the notification on the trip.
There's a notification on the screen that says live on Facebook.
Boom. That's all we needed. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to a special edition of Off the Record, the People's Podcast, this evening with a great guest that we have today, someone who is very near and dear to many of us, but especially myself, student minister Jamil Muhammad. First of all, assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam to you, Brother Joshua, and to your listening and viewing audience.
Excellent. I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule, and thank everyone who is watching and listening for taking time out of your busy schedule as well. The first question I want to have for you, sir, is when did you first hear the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad?
Ooh, that was, I think, 1967 or 8. It was somewhere around my father, who was traveling in his role as the Cincinnati chair of SNCC, the Student National Coordinating Committee. And of course, he had activities and overlaps with the Muslim brothers at Temple Number 5 in Cincinnati. I wanted to attend the mosque, but my mother used to say, no, you can't go, you can't go. Finally, she relented in 1969. And I heard that day at the mosque, the great minister David Bacha teaching the subject called The Black Man's History. And here I am.
Okay, excellent. I want to first say walaikum salam to Sister Mimi, Brother Victor P, walaikum salam, Uncle Jamil, Sister Lovett, Brother Jimmy Davis, walaikum salam. Thank you, sir. Excellent. And thank you all for watching it. My next question is, what was it like in 1967 at Temple Number 5? What was it like going inside, and what was like? Could you paint the picture for us?
Well, mind you, I didn't get there until 1969.
69.
We had just arrived at a new building in Cincinnati on North Bend Road in the College Hill section of the city. It was a beautiful mosque, a single level, beautiful sanctuary and functionary rooms. But I remember my mother, your grandmother, she was a fastidious housekeeper, very, very particular about keeping a clean home.
Yes, sir.
And so I was used to cleanliness, but when I got to the mosque, it came to a whole nother level. I mean, the floors were so shiny, they looked wet, like you couldn't walk on them, but that was just the gloss of the floor. And I mean, the beautiful appearance of the believers and the other junior brothers. I remember not knowing what I was doing, but as the brothers got to the door and saluted their national before entering the sanctuary, I didn't know what they were saluting. There was no one standing there. But when I got to the door, when my place in line came, you know what I did, right?
Yes, sir. Salute.
Salute, and fell in. And so it was always interesting and loving and good. And so I still have friends who were Muslims in that time. Yes, that's right, Brother Rodolfo, Cincinnati. And I still have friends who are lifelong brothers and sisters from the mosque community in that day.
Okay, excellent. My next question is, how was it when the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad left for you to go in 1969 and to see the messenger leave? What was the climate on, how did that affect you and the city?
In much the same way, I think, as people were affected around the rest of the nation. I remember where I was in the main hall at Walnut Hills High School, and they said something about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad having transitioned, and I couldn't wrap my mind around it. I didn't understand it. Not being a theologian or a scholar or even a serious student at that time of what I believed. I believed in Islam because of the Black unity, the brotherhood, the polish, the militant pop and shine.
Yes, sir.
So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's departure was disturbing to me, but I did not cry out. I did not go through any outward changes. But I slipped into what other teenagers may have slipped into at that time, the average daily life of a Negro in America. I lived a Negro life.
Yes,
you know, I wasn't eating pork, but heck, I was living a Negro life. And
yes,
so
sir.
what I did was came to Howard University as a freshman in 1977. And then my sophomore year in September the 27th to be exact, 1978, I was walking across campus headed toward Georgia Avenue. And I walked past Crampton Auditorium, a building which would be significant in the history of my life after that. And I heard applause coming out, and I looked at the sign and said, Minister Louis Farrakhan. Wow. So I ran inside and took a seat in the upper part of the balcony. And I remember watching the minister and thinking to myself, well, I got to help him. And so after the meeting, I ran down the stairs to try to catch him, but I missed him. He and his cousin Malele and Minister Kareem, the general, Minister Abdul Kareem Muhammad, and Joshua, Minister Farrakhan's son, who was also 18 years old at that time, Joshua Farrakhan, hopped in a white Toyota Cressida, and they were moving out. And I ran behind them, but you can't really catch cars.
Yes, sir. Okay.
So that was how I got back with the minister from that point.
Okay, wonderful. Can you please explain to us, how did you go what was it about the name Minister Farrakhan? Were you already familiar, or how did you just know, like, I'm gonna help him as soon as you seen him? Like, what was it?
Well, two things. I was familiar with the minister as the voice of the national radio broadcast, which used to air over WDAO FM in Dayton, and that covered the whole Southwest Ohio. So we heard the minister, and you knew who the minister was, but hearing him, I had never met him in person at that point. So I run in, try to run in and offer my support, but I didn't get a chance to do it that day. So I started just doing the best I could, following, working, catching the minister where I could at the Howard Theater in April of '79, and moving around, just living the life of a Muslim. And in those days, the great brother Marvin X. Turner, also called Uncle Marvin, was my roommate at that time. And at so Howard. At Howard. And we had an off-campus apartment. We thought we were slick. We had an off-campus apartment up in Summit Hills in Silver Spring. But he was my roommate, and we were soldiering, and we just pushed and pushed. And you'll see an interesting vignette about Brother Marvin and myself in your dad's book. So that's an interesting piece.
Okay, excellent. My next question for you is, what was it like when you recited in Washington, D.C., or did you recite in D.C., and who trained you? Who was the minister? Who was the captain? Like, how was that like in D.C.?
No, very, very interesting and good question, because at that time we were forming out of the darkness of the fall of the nation, the late 70s, early, hey, Carmen, wa alaikum salam. In the late 70s and early 80s, we were people who were focused on sitting in study groups. The minister didn't pull us into a mosque format right away. Okay, he told us to study the teachings. And he gave to us a study guide, which was fully realized and written by Brother Jabril Muhammad, then known as Brother Bernard Kushmir. So we had a study group at Howard, where I was. We had the study groups in other parts of the city that didn't even know other study groups existed. That's the wisdom of the minister, because if there had been poison in one study group circle, he didn't want it to affect the entire city. So the circles grew up together. And at a certain point, the minister brought us together, maybe in 1980. And in 1980, of course, we had the great legendary Brother David Muhammad as our citywide minister, Brother David X. Johnson. We had Brother Captain James X. Booker, known today as the legendary Abdul Wali Muhammad, the editor of the Final Call newspaper. But he was a captain. And you talking about a tough fellow. That was a tough guy, man. And brother Wali had his combat boots shining, so the front toe looked like it was reflecting light from outer space. It was just tight. I mean, and we would drill and push and work and soldier. And so it created an atmosphere where excellence was to be expected. And that's what we grew up out of at Mosque Number 4 in the early 80s. And of course, all of the mosques on the East Coast were connected by one reality, and that was our small, flexible size. No city had hundreds of soldiers, not New York, not Philly. Nobody had hundreds of soldiers. So we would meet. There would be brothers and sisters from all the different locations. So we became friends and beloved brothers with our brothers from Boston and Hartford, our brothers from New York and New Jersey, our brothers from Philadelphia, Camden, Atlantic City, Baltimore, Washington, Richmond. We were all tight in those days. you see?
Yes,
And we were always talking about building. So we grew together, but there was one glue, one force that held us together. I think you know where I'm going with this, but he was the man that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said helped him more in the rebuilding of the Nation of Islam than any other individual person. And that man is Minister Abdul Karim Muhammad. We lovingly call him the General from Plainfield, New Jersey, who at that time served as the minister's representative for the East Coast in New York City and coordinated all of our activities at that time. Minister Kareem had such an indefatigable work ethic that it rubbed off on us. He got up in the morning and taught, because the main mosque meeting in those days was at 2 p.m. He had an 11 o'clock mosque meeting in Plainfield, a 2 o'clock mosque meeting that he would teach again in New York. Then he would get in the car and drive to a 6 o'clock Sunday mosque meeting in Philadelphia. The teachings. So we were always up and down the East Coast, rolling together, brotherhood, loved it, tight, strong family. And that's what we come up out of. And I think that's a large part of the reason why many of those persons from that time are still here and still strong, like your dad, like your mom, like Brother Arif and Brother Akil and Sister Ava and Sister Aisha and all those, and Brother Kadir and Sister Dawn and Sister Lisa from up in Boston, and all of us that were coming around at that time. We were soldiering together by Allah's grace, doing the best that we could, trying to build something to help the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
All praises to Allah. And we, on behalf of myself and my parents and siblings, we want to thank you for your sacrifice, Brother Minister, and your sacrifice of your family as well. Mimi says, Chip has an impeccable memory, great history. Alaikum salam, Carmel, alaikum salam, Brother Gerald. Alaikum, powerful, praise be to Allah. So to have him coming back to that, the beauty of the brotherhood and sisterhood. Thank you for this rich history. The General Abdul Karim Muhammad. I know Brother Jamil doesn't remember, but he was this squad selling tickets in Detroit Savings Day back in the 90s. Plainfield in the house. Minister Kareem is a beautiful brother. Praise be to Allah. Okay, my next question for you, sir.
Can I say one thing, brother, about Brother Charles talking about Detroit back in the 90s? And I got to tell you, brother, when we first started soldiering heavy going to Detroit, I remember that I would always wonder why we ended up in Detroit in January and February. I'm like, I want to go to Detroit in July and August. You understand what I'm saying? But we would be there standing on Woodward Avenue in front of the department store, Hudson's department store. And the snow would be that deep, or as they say down in the country, yay deep. And I mean, we were out there selling that final call, and afterwards we would go to Brother Akbar's restaurant. Brother James had a restaurant. And boy, we would go and share brotherhood with our brothers in Detroit. And, you know, Brother Andrew and those brothers in Detroit, James Akbar, who was the captain. Great, 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 great memories of this nation of Islam. But we're not all about memories now. We're going to make some new memories, because I'll be darned if I'm just history. I'm current events too, doggone it.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay, excellent. My next, and thank you all for your comments. My next question is, what was it like for you meeting the Most Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan for the first time?
Well, it was unexpected. I came hoping to meet with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan on June the 8th, 1980. I remember the date because we were at Boston English High School. Minister Farrakhan was teaching part 2 of a lecture he had taught on May the 18th called Liberty or Death. He taught that lecture at City College of New York in Harlem, 138th Street and Amsterdam Avenue, at the Nat Holman Gym, the City College. And then he came to Boston a few weeks later, but I had been creating an idea in my mind, Brother Joshua, because I was blessed to sell the cassette, White Man's Heaven is a Black Man's Hell. Some of you may still have a vintage copy in your tape collection. There's a light brown cassette with the trumpet in the upper corner in brown, and it said, "Heed the Call, Louis Farrakhan." And I remember I would sell them in the streets of the cities where I would visit, because I was always in New York, Philly, and Washington, of course, was my base. And I remember walking up and down the streets with what they call a boom box or a ghetto blaster. I had a strap on my shoulder, and I would play the minister and just walk and let people hear it. I pointed at people, here, listen. And they would hear it, and I would say, "You know who that is?" They say, "Yeah, what's that?" I said, "That's Farrakhan." "No, it ain't." I said, "Yeah, man." And I sold the tapes. But I had an idea that we should put that on a vinyl record, like a 12-inch vinyl record.
Yes, sir. Yes,
So
sir.
they would make it available to DJs and make it available for sale in record shops and give us access to jobbers and distributors in the record business. So I created a business plan. I came to Boston on June the 8th to tell the minister about my business plan after he spoke at the Boston English High School that day. So I went up to Boston. I remember we rented a Mustang, me and a brother named Brother Winston Pantone, Brother Adol. We rented an orange Mustang. We drove from DC. That mean that Mustang was orange too. Thinking back, that bad boy was orange. But we drove to Boston. We got there, we heard the minister. I didn't want to appear like I was super soldier that day because I was on my business tip. I wore a blue blazer and some gray gabardine slacks. You know, I was trying to dress it down.
Yes, sir.
So I go to begin to tell the minister about it, and they say, you can't see the minister. You go tell that to Minister Linward, which was the name of Minister Abdul Kareem Muhammad at that time.
Yes, sir.
And so I began to tell him about it. I had an easel and a road map and a pointer, and I had circled some cities, you know,
yes, sir,
where we would open the top 10 radio markets around the country. And as I began to explain it, the room, which was a big crowded room, got really quiet, Josh. And the minister was on the other side of the room. And as I presented it to Brother Kareem, the minister did his hand like this to me. Come here, brother. I said, woo, whoa. So I went over, and that was the first time I shook the minister's hand. And this was June the 8th, 1980. And I had been with him for a couple of years, but I had never met him personally. You know, you can be with the minister and not have met him personally yet.
Yes, sir.
So he said, brother, I'm interested in what you're saying. That seems like a brilliant idea. Would you be willing to present that to the laborers of the Nation of Islam? And what was I supposed to say? Like, no, I'm not willing. I said, yes, sir. So I go and I get the, I get the information.
Yes, sir.
And I gather it and take it to Chicago. The minister gave me his number that day on a business card. He wrote it on the back. I can see that perfect penmanship right now. 312-881-8165. And he gave me that card. And I cherished that card. I called the minister. He told me to come to Chicago. We presented it to the laborers, and it later came out as that white album, Jack the Rapper, Heed the Call.
Yes, sir.
The one that people know about. So that was how I met the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in the working and trying to put this program over, you know?
Praise be the Lord. Okay. I never knew any of that. That's a beautiful history. And
yeah, man, it was fun because we were riding up and down the Atlantic City Expressway. They pressed the records in a town called Atco, New Jersey. Atco. They actually named a label after Atco, New Jersey. That was an Atlantic subsidiary where they pressed the records. And Kenny Gamble, our brother Lukman Al-Haq from Philadelphia, was essential in helping us put together that project. Brother Minister Abdul Akbar Muhammad and Brother Marvin X. Turner. I never can thank Allah enough for him. He's in Washington, D.C. today. But Brother Marvin drove up and down the road, and we put so many miles on that little blue Nova that we had, a 75 Nova. Man, we beat that car like that thing was Chuck Wepner. I mean, but we drove it up and down the road, and Allah blessed us to be able to get where we had to go. Because in those days, Josh, the radio broadcasts in the cities used to come in by mail or shipment from Chicago. It was on reel-to-reel tape. You have to remember, there was no MP3, there was no audio file, there was no wave file, there was no cart, it was a reel-to-reel tape. And so they would send them in to us in DC, and then we would hop in the car and drive up to WWRL in New York, to WNJR in Newark, then to WHAT in Philadelphia, WSSJ in Camden, WEBB in Baltimore at that time. And later we began our sojourn on WEAA in Baltimore, the longest running radio broadcast ministry that's still on the air today. And finally home to WOL in Washington and WANT in Richmond. So we drove those tapes, pick up the old tape, drop off the new tape, see you next week. That was the soldiering of the FOI. to get the word of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in the ears of our people. So for every brother that's that every is a part of that history, I thank Allah for those brothers. Man.
And thank you again, Minister, for your sacrifice, because we would never know where we would be if it was not for you and the brothers who put
soldiers.
Yes, sir. Okay, my next question is, what was your first assignment? How did you first get into the ministry? How did that come about?
Well, that happened on Georgia Avenue too. We were at the hotel. At that time, it was known as the Harambe House. It later became known as the Howard Inn Hotel, Georgia Avenue, just north of W Street before you get to Bryant Street. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan would stay in that hotel when he came to Washington. I was a lieutenant in the FOI, soldiering on post in the minister's hotel room. And Brother Akbar, at that time, Brother Larry Foex, came and opened up. Well, he may have been before that, but he opened up. Yes, Brother Daniel, Atco Record Company was in Chicago in the mid-'60s. I think they named the label, Brother Daniel, after the city of Atco, New Jersey, where so many of the records were pressed. That was the way I heard the story. Thank you, Brother Daniel. But I wanted to tell you, the idea of us going to ministry had not come into my mind. Brother Akbar opens up a road map of the United States. Remember, no computers, no iPads, no Androids, none of that. We go there and we set up, and Akbar opens up a map on the bed. They talking. I'm around here closing the blinds because evening is coming. And Akbar is telling the minister, I can overhear him say, Brother Minister, we got to do better over here in this city. We need to do so and so. Brother Akbar, all business. We got to do business here, got to do business there. This is what we need to do here. And the minister called me over. He said, brother, come. I said, yes, sir. He said, would you mind going to New Orleans and opening up a mosque there for us as the minister? I kind of looked around like, okay, the only one in here is me. I'm a study group leader at Howard, but I ain't nobody's minister. And the minister said to me, he said, go down and open it up. I said, yes, sir. I had just gotten married a week earlier. So this is around mid to late May of 1981. I said, yes. I went home and told my new little wife that we were about to move to what I still pronounced at that time as New Orleans, because that's how Northerners say it, New Orleans.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So we moved to New Orleans. She said, boy, quit playing. Quit playing. I said, yeah, we're going to move to New Orleans. And the rest, as they say, is history. So that was my first assignment, Brother Joshua, as the study group coordinator at mosque number 46. And we were grateful that we got our mosque number back as an active chartered mosque, 1982. So by 82 Savior's Day, we were up and running with our mosque number chartered. But that was my first assignment in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Praise be to Allah. Okay, my next question is: once you're in New Orleans, how does one just get something started like that? If you by yourself, you go with your wife, y'all come to a city. How did that? Can you put us on? Like, teach us how the process of that.
Well, New Orleans, which is, by the way, the birthplace of Brother Daniel E. Muhammad, we have to say that.
Yeah.
New Orleans was quite a challenge, but it was quite an opportunity, and it was something that we were happy to do. No, didn't eat any crawfish, Brother Rodolfo, cut it out. But I was in.
Okay. I'm sorry. We gotta stay focused, because if all these comments gonna throw these stories off, I gotta get this.
Okay. Joshua said, "Y'all be quiet over there with the comments." And Jamil, you stop looking at the comments. Stop looking at the comments. Okay, now I'm gonna stop. But in New Orleans, I was on the street corner.
Okay, yes, sir.
With a flyer that we made by hand. It was mimeograph. I used to draw the flyers out by hand and have the words on there. And if I could get a picture and put it on there of the minister, somebody will find it. I think Brother Emil and Brother Carlton may find it. But I was on the street corner by myself, selling what final calls I could get, the ultimate challenge The Survival of the Black Nation, the first edition of the Final Call.
Praise be to Allah.
And standing on the corner one day on Basin Street, just east of Canal, and a little yellow Volvo pulled up. And the brother said, "Let me get one of them papers." I gave him the paper. He said, "Hey man, you for real?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Okay, we're gonna have to talk." That was Brother Emil Muhammad from the E-Team, who served as my captain in New Orleans. Because there were Muslims in the city, but we didn't have anything coordinated. So when we came together, Brother Emil's whole family, Brother Carlton, Sister Amy, and by marriage, Brother Aaron, and all they're from New Orleans. And so we came together, started building the mosque, and got up and got to running. And so Allah is all wise and civilized. We came out ahead by Allah's grace. So that's how you do it. You get out on the corner and you sweat, and you sell the Final Call, and you pass out the flyers, and you talk to people, and you call on Allah, and you ask Allah to bless you to spread this word in the right spirit, and in the name of Allah, you will be successful. And that ain't changed from 1981 to today. That's only 39 years. Well, ain't no time.
Yes, sir.
Ain't no time.
Yes, sir. Okay, and thank you all for watching. My next question to you, Brother Minister, is you're in New Orleans. You get your what mosque became like? You said you got your number. Like when in New Orleans? I don't even know the mosque number in New Orleans. 46.
What? You don't know the mosque number in New Orleans?
46.
40, okay, all right. Come on, bro.
No. I'm saying in this, like in once the rebuilding happened, how far? What was it? It still was 46.
46.
It still was 46.
The numbers will never change. If your city has a number, for example, we don't see a lot of activity right now today for mosque number 17, but that 17 number stays in Joliet, Illinois, because that is the mosque number of Joliet. When it's revitalized and reconstituted and rises again, that will be mosque number 17, because the believers under the Honorable Elijah Muhammad earned that designation.
Okay, yes, sir.
Same thing with all the other mosque numbers. Okay.
Okay. Praise be to Allah. Okay, excellent. Yes, sir. So then, how do you leave mosque number 46 in New Orleans? What happened? What's your next transition? What's your next destination?
Next destination, I'm going home to visit my in-laws in Philadelphia. And I go to the mosque, and Brother Kareem is on the rostrum. As I walk to the top of the steps, it appears that he was settling some kind of disagreement among the believing body. And as I walk up the steps, he sees my face. He says, "Okay, there you go. Brother's going to teach Sunday." Talk about me.
Yes, sir.
And
yes,
so
sir.
that way, the two different parties who saw things differently did not have to vie for space. So I stayed the next Sunday and gave the message at the mosque at 1421 Columbia Avenue in North Philadelphia, which today is known as Cecil B. Moore Avenue. And the building is torn down because Temple University ate up all the land around there.
Yes, sir.
But that Sunday, I came and taught, and there was a great success by Allah's grace. And I stayed in this following Sunday. And it started looking like I might be there for a short time. And so we started making some arrangements. And eventually I got a call from Minister Kareem that said, "Brother, close down your business in New Orleans. You have to come now to Philadelphia." And so I became the minister of Temple number 12 in Philadelphia. Proud history of the great Temple number 12, the top of the clock in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. Now, speaking of that, we want to get to the good history of number 12, but I also wanted to address this story that my mom told me. I spoke with you offline about that as well, just so people can understand some of the price of redemption that you all had to pay, that we stand on your shoulders for. Could you please explain to us about you being attacked and stabbed in Philadelphia?
Whoa, yeah. We did talk about that, didn't we? And
Yes,
here we are.
Yes, sir.
In October of 1986, I was trying in my way. There's no way I was a perfect young leader. At that time, I was in my mid-20s, and I was tasked with the leadership of one of the greatest mosques in the history of the Nation of Islam in the great city of Philadelphia.
Yes, sir.
And there had been some believers who had done some things that were worthy of them being put out from the mosque. And they were put out. But in my thinking, I said, okay, we're going to bring everybody back. We're gonna bring everybody back and reinstate everybody, and we're gonna make number 12 strong again. We're gonna throw away that old stuff and get the building. Some folks said, no, we want a hearing. We want a hearing because we felt we were right. I said, no, there's no need for any of that. No need for any of that. You just come on back and we'll absolve the charges. I don't know what made me think I could say that, but there wasn't. They had not done anything that was what's the word I can say? They had not done anything that was chargeable for which they should remain out of the mosque.
Yes, sir.
So they said, no, we're going to have a hearing. You trying to play God with us. Ooh, it was something else. And so one Wednesday after the mosque meeting, when my dear brother Earl C. Muhammad, everybody know Brother Earl, the DI, the great first officer from Philadelphia, the drill instructor, the photographer from Photo Posse, the one that Minister Farrakhan calls Philly Slim.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And we were coming around the corner on 56th and Media from the house of Umoja, 56th and Master. And as I came around the corner, I asked Brother Earl to help Sister Jackie open up the door in her car. And he went to the corner, went around to open the door for the sister to get in her car before we left together, because we were going to actually take the subway back home, you know. And I heard some scuffling behind me. I said, man, these rats getting bold out here in the ghetto. They making noise. And I turned around to see what was happening. I heard Allahu Akbar, bam. And I thought it was a punch in my back. And so I fought the assailants and to learn who they were. I'm not going to just divulge their names or anything because they have relatives that are still in the nation and all. And and may Allah bless those family members to make their way to Allah all the way. But I saw who they were, and I had to fight them off. There were two. And as they ran down the street, obviously they weren't successful in killing me. Wow. I did not even know that I had been hit, but apparently there was some profuse bleeding because I looked down and there was a puddle of blood on the ground. Messed up my brand new Ballys. Oh, man. And I went to get 911. We called 911. Then I started feeling pain. And my suit jacket had been ripped and my shirt had been ripped, and it was an ice pick that plunged into me. But in the adrenaline rush of the fight, I didn't feel that, you see. But I started feeling it afterwards, and the ambulance came about 45 minutes later, because 911 really is a joke in the ghetto. It is. We got to Lankenau Hospital, and I went into the surgery. I don't remember that part, obviously. But I came out, and I didn't drown in my own blood because the point of the ice pick got into my lung, and my lung collapsed, and it bruised it, but it didn't puncture it. All praise is due to Allah. I'm still sitting here telling the story.
Yes, sir.
And they sewed me up on the inside, stitched me up on the outside. And I went down to Atlanta because we reported it to Minister Farrakhan. He sent for me immediately the next day to join him where he was touring in Atlanta, Georgia. The brothers had already taken up and made sure that something could happen. You know, when you harm a Muslim, things happen to you.
Allahu Akbar.
And they should happen to you because you should not be harming people.
Yes, sir.
That didn't do you no harm.
Yes, sir.
And we got in the room, and a certain brother, we mentioned him earlier in the call, but he said, Minister Farrakhan, we got everything laid out. We know where they live. We know what's happening. We got squads of men. They come in the city, go through. I mean, he laid it out like what was going to happen. The minister shook his head. He said, no, brother. He said, watch what Allah does to them. Worse than anything that we could do. And the minister was crying, and I remember he kept crying. He said, oh, they stabbed my little brother. And I was like, I'm okay, brother minister, I'm okay. And so, but everybody wanted to hug me. Like, yo, I got a hole in my back, people. Like, it's not today. Like, I love y'all too, but let's fist bump. Let's do something else, but not the back hugs. Minister hugged me. He was crying. I said, ooh, ooh, ooh. He said, I'm sorry, brother. I'm sorry. And I went on back to my work. but the people who did that are dead today.
Allahu Akbar.
They're dead, and you know, Allah is God.
Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. Excellent. So how did your family during that time and the believers in Philadelphia, how did they respond as far as just to you? Did the mosque do better numbers, or everybody got tight? Like what happened?
Our numbers were never bad. We did
Mm.
good numbers at number 12. I mean, there's a reason why it's called the top of the clock. I mean,
Yes.
in Philadelphia's not going to do sloppy numbers.
Yes, sir.
That just wasn't going to happen. But I think that what we saw was an increase, an overall increase. Remember, this is 1986. So we're moving up and pushing toward the next national tour that the minister would go on, which at what that time was called Politics Without Economics is Symbol Without Substance. That tour was mounted in 1987, and we in Philadelphia were an active part of that tour. In 1986, we had also helped to establish the record of the Power, People Organized and Working for Economic Rebirth, Power Tour, which was organized by a group of folks right there in the metropolitan Philadelphia area. And I had been blessed to be in Chicago to incubate that project for about 6 months. So I was always traveling at that time. And that's why I'm so grateful for your cousins and for your aunt Jamila, because they put up with a lot, with me being gone all the time and crazy the rest of the time,
Okay.
So I appreciate them, and I thank Allah for them, the great ones.
Allahu Akbar. And we appreciate and love them as well. And thank you all for your comments. I just can't engage right now because we got to keep it serious on it, because this is some serious stuff we're dealing with. Okay. And my next question for you, Brother Minister, is what was your next destination?
In Philadelphia, my tenure there came to close in late in 1986, early 87, if I recall correctly. And so I came with the initial intent to return to Washington and complete my education at Howard University. Right. Got back to Howard, got back to DC, and started working, and was making some good money. I was working in the automobile industry. And one day I got a call into Minister Abdul Alim's office, Minister Abdul Alim Muhammad, Dr. Alim, who was our regional minister at the time. And he asked me, said that he had, I don't know what he meant. He said, you're going to Baltimore. I said, wow, I had never thought of Baltimore. Really hadn't. And so he asked me to go over there and help teach the teachings. I said, okay. So I get to Baltimore in March of 1988. And the first mosque meeting I went to, I got scared because it was 12 people at the mosque meeting. I said, this look like the Last Supper in here. What's going on? What's happening? But it was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful group of believers that began to band together in the great mosque number 6, Baltimore, Maryland. So that was my next assignment in Baltimore. And I was blessed to spend 6 years there in Baltimore, Maryland at mosque number 6.
Okay, let's stay right here in Baltimore. So you come into Baltimore with 12 people there. Who was already there, and how did you expand the mosque?
Well, I can't remember everybody's name. I can tell you that Brother Abdul Arif Muhammad had been the earlier representative of the minister in Baltimore in the late 70s and early 80s. In fact, Brother Arif may have been the first person, the first registered Muslim with Minister Farrakhan that I ever socially met in the work. But by the time 1988 rolled around, Baltimore had some stalwart believers, some good, strong, steady believers, like Brother Edward Muhammad and Sister Sherry Muhammad, and some others who were there at the beginning, Brother Nadar Muhammad and Sister Sharon Muhammad. And those brothers and sisters who were there, they were with us at the beginning. And so we came together in Baltimore and we started working. And the critical mass that was assembled happened so quickly because I think of the great captaincy of Brother Abdul Akil Muhammad, Block, the king of the Upcrease, my brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And Captain Akil was there with me, and Sister Sheila who at that time was known as Sheila. She's Sister Mashallah. May Allah be pleased with her. She later was the wife of Dr. Abdul Ali Muhammad. But with those two great captains, we began building and began building and building. And so around 1990, we got a young brother, about 15 years old, with a big kid and play high top fade. And he came to hear the minister, and he loved the minister, and he hung out at the mosque. We couldn't get him to go home. At the end of the day, he just still wanted to sell papers or do administrative work or wind tapes or do something. And we said, man, you got to go home, Brother Carlos.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And Carlos is still there after 26 years successfully as the minister of Mosque number 6 in Baltimore. We're just very proud of him and his work. So there were great ones who came along. Brother Tracy, who is our minister today in Richmond, Virginia at Mosque number 24. He came up in the ranks in Baltimore. And so we were very, very honored to have them. Brother Fontaine, Brother Abdul Rasul Muhammad.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Up out of the streets of Baltimore. His lovely sister, Sister Tracy, who's married to Brother Carlos.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right? And I did their wedding, and their wedding almost started on time, which is an accomplishment because Black weddings don't start on time. They're not going to do it. But they almost did. Brother David Muhammad, who is our captain today in San Diego.
Yes, sir.
You see, and Sister Maria, all these great, great Muslims came through that mosque, and that's why we used to call it the little mosque that could. Like the old book, the little train that could, the little engine that could. We felt that was the mosque. We had that spirit because we were going to be pound for pound helpers of Minister Farrakhan. It was at that time I said to him, I said, Brother Minister Farrakhan, I said, I want to make you. One day I'm gonna give you some babies that look just like you. He looked at me and said, what the hell you, what? I said, Brother Minister, I mean spiritual babies in this work that want to help you and have the spirit to help you. We want to bring them through this way as a gift to you. And so anytime you can have a hand, certainly it is Allah who is the Lord of the resurrection. It is Allah who claims his people from the grave of ignorance. It is Allah alone by whose permission we become Muslims, FOI and MGT. Yes, but to have had a hand in helping to wash off the baby, to have a great, to have any kind of hand in such a great one as Brother Abdul Rasul, that's an honor.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
To have a hand in helping, to have a hand in helping in Brother Carlos development. See, to have a hand in those great men and women development, Sister Cynthia, the great Sister Nakia, the businesswoman from Baltimore, who came to us as a high school sophomore. And before she was a senior, she was teaching in high schools all over the city, setting blazes.
Praise be to God.
Man, you got to let the people work. Let them work. They got talent.
Yes, sir.
I'm not the only one with talent, but the way we did it was when I would travel with the minister, I would come home and share what we had. And the believers remind me of little birds in a nest, you know? And the little birds in the nest would be like, you take that food and feed them from what the minister said. And everybody got strong. And come time to fly, they flew. Baltimore, Mosque number 6. Yes, the little mosque that could.
My next question for you is, could you please give us, as my sister Mimi said earlier, all the mosques, could you give us the first 10 mosque numbers in their cities so that we can just, because this is historical, we want to make sure that everybody who's watching for the future.
So you quizzing me?
No, sir, I'm not quizzing. I'm not quizzing you. I'm saying, but I want this to be recorded so people can know.
You see him quizzing me, right?
I'm telling you, I don't know the last time I heard somebody say, "What's the first 10 mosques?" But I know so you can tell us the first 10 mosques, so we can have this recorded for people who watch it and don't want to.
Everybody, let's do it together. And if you have to throw them in the chat room, go ahead and throw them in the chat room too. Yes, mosque number 1 obviously is in Detroit.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Mosque number 2 is in Chicago.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Huh? Mimi's funny. Mosque number 3 is in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Mosque number 4, of course, in Washington. Number 5 in America's most beautiful city, where I was born and first heard the teachings,
Allahu Akbar.
Cincinnati, Ohio, mosque number 5. Number 6, Baltimore. Number 7, the mighty New York, the historic Temple number 7, Harlem, New York. Number 8, San Diego, California. Look at Islam on the march. You see it?
Yes,
jumping
sir.
around the map because the message was not contained in any geographical area. Number 8 is San Diego. Number 9, Youngstown, Ohio. Yeah.
I bet you none of them knew that. They didn't know.
Everybody
they
like
know. They lied if they say they didn't know it. They did not know that.
I think Brother Verbin knew that number 9 was in Youngstown, Ohio.
Yeah, okay.
And number 10, Atlantic City, New Jersey.
Okay, yes, sir.
Atlantic City, New Jersey. Now, these were not study groups. Now, these were people getting together mosques and building mosques. That shows you that Islam was on the move, moving all over the country, where Black people heard the message of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. They began to stand up, Josh. They began to say, look, I'm standing up. Don't care how small my city is. So you had smaller cities that had mosques in them. Kankakee, Illinois, mosque number 49. Joliet, number 17.
Yes, sir.
South Bend, Indiana, mosque number 31. Right?
Yes, sir.
Springfield, Ohio, mosque number 71. All these little small cities, but they had strong pride and power in them because the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is sweeping through America. And it can sweep again. It can sweep again.
Yes, sir. Okay, my next question for you, sir, is when did you see the Most Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan? When did you have a realization that the minister wasn't just a speaker or a activist or like, how did you know that he was divine? When did you have that realization?
That I'm trying to pin down a particular date.
Yes, sir.
And I can't. And I'm going to say this because the minister gave me some insight about this. He said, everybody's born to do something.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Everybody's born to do something, Josh. And he sat me in a room one time. He said, brother, you were born to help me. That's why you're alive. So nothing else. I don't notice anything else. Now, I'm not putting myself into some strange position or making myself a weirdo that y'all can't talk to and treat to a cup of coffee. You can treat me to the coffee. But I have to tell you that since I've been with the ministers, like, why would I do anything else? What was I waiting for some confirmation? The first day I met him in 1980, possibly. Later on that year, as I began to interact with him, when I saw the beauty in the eyes of Mother Khadijah Farrakhan and her love for the nation, I don't know what it was. Savior's Day 81, when I sat front rostrum post, and I remember hearing us hear the minister say that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is alive and not dead.
Allahu Akbar.
I remember the fullness that came up in my heart. And I remember thinking as I sat in that chair, I wish a joker would start something in there. I said joker. I said joker. But I mean, but that was the beautiful. The minute, I don't know a certain date. I mean, I've ever since I came around him, the glow, the majesty, the power, the shine of Allah coming through him, the wisdom, the compassion, the love, the concern for the believer, the fact that the minister would always look out for a believer and didn't even let the believer know he was looking out for him. Huh? The fact the minister wouldn't even let us leave a brother on post too long. And your father took that over. Your father looked out for the men. And so does Brother Mustafa today. And I believe that comes directly from the spirit of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So no, I don't have a date. I'm sorry. I wish I could answer that question, but I don't have that.
Okay.
And somebody said the minister can read minds. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he told me one time that he had not developed that skill, but that was a long time ago.
Okay, yes,
I believe that the minister can get insight into your own thinking today.
Praise be to Allah. My next question for you, Brother Minister, is the Million Man March, an historical decrowning. It was just amazing. The most, like, to me, it's the biggest deal. Period. It's the biggest deal. The Million Man March. I wasn't able to attend. I wish I was able to attend.
Now you gonna bring this back up again?
I'm just saying it's just something that forever and ever is just going to be an amazing march. To almost 2 million black people coming, black men, no crime. We know the history.
Mm-hmm.
You were there. I'm going to ask you about leading up to it, but especially raising charity and the Green Wave. Could you explain how it came about and man, leading up to it and how the Green Wave came about and how you felt that day?
Well, I felt great that day. I'm going to answer the last question first. I felt great. October the 16th, 1995. None of us got any sleep the previous night because everybody was ready. But as the sun rose on the mall, and there were already 1 million men in attendance, and men kept coming. I had never seen anything like that in my life. I had to report to the staging area because serving as the master of ceremonies for the Million Man March, I had to go back in the staging area in the back. And I remember looking at the Million Man March and having my mind blown. And as I stood there, the sun was directly in my eyes as we raised the offering. And I remember there was sweat in my eye and I couldn't really see, but I played it off because I'm so cool. Because I'm so cool. So I kept going. And I remember we raised the offering. We did all the things that we had to do, but the massive display of love, those dollars waving overhead, of course, that wasn't the first time we'd ever done the Green Wave. That was developed on tour with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan sometime in the late 80s. When the charity receptacles didn't show up on time, we had to wait for them to get something else. So we had the people to wave their money in the meantime. Hey, stuff gets created, you know?
Yes, sir.
And in the meantime, that was the case. I remember once we were in St. Louis, we did the Green Wave and the receptacles just weren't there. We had the Kiel Auditorium in St. Louis. The receptacles not there. And I thank Allah for my dear beloved brother Captain Salim. Salim began to move. He saw what was happening. And in his way, he went out and produced a miracle. Next thing I know, there were charity bags on the floor, big old trash bags. But people were dumping the money in them. And we had a great collection that day in St. Louis. I remember in Los Angeles at the sports arena when the charity portion of the program came around, and our dear departed sister, Natalie Cole, bless her heart. She came up to me. She said, I'm going to help you, Brother Jamil. What you need me to do? I said, Natalie, whatever you want to do. She went down from the stage and went out into the audience and started collecting $100, $500, $1,000 donations. The great Natalie Cole. The helpers of the minister are so many. So many.
Praise be to Allah.
Many people that you don't know and you don't see, but they love the minister and they will help the minister. And the great gift, Josh, and I have to say this while we're on your program. The great gift of my life has been not that I've become enriched beyond my wildest dreams in dollars. That hasn't happened yet. It's not that I'm powerful and can order men to do things. You do this, you do that. That hasn't happened. Don't know if it ever will. But Allah has blessed me to be an observer and a witness to the power that he exercises through his servant, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Yes, sir. Yes,
I
sir.
have seen that man go into places and change the entire climate in a place. And I asked him, how did he do that one time? He said, brother, it's because when I walk, I carry my own atmosphere with me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Like, yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is an example to us of complete and total submission to Allah after the example of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Now, let me clear something up so people don't start getting it twisted.
Yes, sir.
And thinking that the followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad are in some way engaged in a disrespect of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We are not. The only way that you can live the Sunnah today is by following the example of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Minister Louis Farrakhan. The only way you can understand the Hadith today is by listening to the words and writings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan today. The prophet himself, peace and prayers be upon him, said that 3 generations after me would not be of me.
Yes, sir.
And so
Yes,
the
sir.
world of Islam in the East has become weakened and deviated and decrepit. It still contains beauty, and there's still much of good that is there. But the power of Allah seems strangely inaccessible to the people who say his name the most.
Yes, sir.
In that part of the world. We who follow the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Minister Louis Farrakhan, we believe that Allah appeared July 1930 in the person of Master Farrakhan Muhammad.
Yes, sir.
To whom praise is due forever. That
Yes,
is our belief. If you back up from your belief, you deserve the stumbling confusion into which you fall.
yes, sir.
Hold
Yes, sir.
on to Islam. Hold on to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's teaching. Hold on to the legacy and example and training of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. That's what I would say.
Yes, sir. Okay, excellent. And thank you all for watching. On that note, we got to just take a brief commercial break for the sponsors of this podcast, Brother Minister. Thank you for your patience. I want to thank Supreme Men's Clothing, 10835 West Florissant Avenue, St. Louis, Missouri, 63136. Supreme Men's Clothing. The phone number is 314-528-5555. If you're in St. Louis, he would get you fresh, dripping. He got amazing clothes. Shout out to my brother from Supreme Men's Clothing for always showing love and sponsorship. My next thing is my brother, Rashad, Street Premiere Video Production. He just bought a drone, so they're going to be doing all kind of movies and music videos and whatever you need for editing.
That's
so
my shot. That's my shot.
For doing that, working with his company. My next one is Sister Miriam, my sister, ABC I Love Me, the coloring book, as well as the regular children's book on Amazon. Also, my father's water, Supreme Spring Water. Get that. Thank you very much, Dad, for sponsoring. My book, Cleopatra, it is on Amazon. It's my second book. And last but not least, my father's latest book, A Soldier in the Movement of Christ, Muhammad, Part 1 in the beginning. Thank you all. And if you all have a business you would like me to sponsor, let me know. J Imagination on Cash App, and we can make it happen. I will proudly promote your business.
Yes,
Next,
sir.
back to you, Brother Minister, and thank you all for watching. My next question for you, sir, is, boom, how did you receive your holy name, sir?
I can't tell you how, but I can tell you when and what the minister said.
Please.
September the 22nd, 1984. We were in the Gladfelter Hall on the campus of Temple University in North Philadelphia. And as the Philadelphia representative of the nation and the minister of Mosque number 12 in that city at the time, I was introducing the minister at the rostrum as a part of a conference called a Conference on Assuring a Black Tomorrow. Had people like Sister Sonia Sanchez and Dr. Melissa Asante and Dr. The Reverend Ishaka Musa Barashango. These were all guests, and the minister was giving the keynote lecture that night, and I introduced him. And it seems that we got a good advantage with the crowd that night. Yes, and so they enjoyed the introduction. And as the minister greeted me, and here he is, Minister Louis Farrakhan. Yes, sir. He came up, and as he greeted me, he whispered something in my ear. I could not hear what he said, so I sat down right behind him in case he was about to send me to do something. He would see I'm still sitting there. I didn't go do it, so he could repeat what he needed because I didn't hear him. Yes, sir. So he went on with the lecture, and he began to reference something that everyone who had spoken at the microphone before him had said. And then he said, and as our brother, Minister Jamil Muhammad said. Now, I don't know who that is at that point. I'm like this, like, oh, shoot, I missed him on the program. Who is he? And as the minister pointed to me, it sort of dawned on me that, oh, wait a minute, something just happened here. When I got back to the hotel that night, the minister asked me, now, brother, what's your name? And I said, Jamil Muhammad? He said, that's right. He said, do you know what it means? I said, no, sir. He said, it means the beautiful one. I said, oh, all right then. He said, brother, it don't mean that because you cute. That's not what it means. And then we laughed, and he said, it means that as I observe you, I see you looking for the beauty of God everywhere and in everybody. And because you look for the beauty of God in others, Allah brings his beauty through you. And so that's why he called me that, Jamil. Now I'm striving to live up to that. I'm trying to get everything together, and make sure I'm looking good and everything. But Allah is the best knower, and we strive in his name, Josh, to do the right thing for the right reason at the right time, and we'll get the right results. But I begged Allah before coming on these airwaves that this conversation might be inspiring to someone, to help the minister some more, or to come and be with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I begged Allah that I would be able to tell the truth with the greatest recollection and detail that I could muster, because I want to make sure that I get it right. I want to make sure that the Nation of Islam does things right and exact, and mistakes shall not exist among the believers at no time. And I want to make sure that there's no mistake here. But it's not a mistake for me to tell you how much I love you and I'm proud of you. That's something that's fair. Now, I know, because he gave me a lecture, everybody. Josh gave me a lecture. Now, look, I'm not going to call you family nicknames and stuff while we're on the air. We're on the air. This is my show. I'm credible. I'm a journalist, damn it. You understand me? I said, yes, I understand.
If y'all think that for 1 second, I would ever talk like that to my uncle. Okay, bro, Minister, my next question is the drill competition. All of my younger childhood, just coming up, all I knew was every joke, every reference, every Moss number, the spirit, everything. I mean, it was Minister Jamil hosting the drill competition. How did you get into that? And what did that feel like, hosting it every year? Because it was amazing. You did an amazing job.
Praise be to Allah. It was fun. It was a great, great privilege, and we had a great time. Don't know how I got into it. I guess we had a need for somebody to MC the drill competition, and I was interested in the military drill, having been a member of the drill team as far back as 1983, when I was a member of the drill team at number 12 in Philadelphia, and we finished second to Los Angeles. Now, you Californians that are on the line, I know you think, ULA, whatever, but Philly was smoking that year. That's all I want to say. Philly was smoking like Joe Frazier. That's all I want to say. But having been interested in drill all of the time of my training in the Nation of Islam, I guess it was a natural fit. I love the believers. I love drill. I love the presentation of that which makes the believers happy and feel proud in their nation. One of the things I noticed, Josh, and I'm not going off on a tangent, but when I would be in Washington over the summer, I would stop in on Fridays between Memorial Day and Labor Day at the Marine Barracks, the Marine headquarters on 8th and I Southeast. They have what's called the Friday Evening Drill. And the Friday Evening Drill is a very popular program in which the best of the drill teams in the U.S. Marine Corps come together and they drill. The silent drill team, the Marine Corps band, the Marine Corps drum and bugle corps, all of that is happening. And I watch how it affects Americans. When they sit in that audience, you see Americans crying. You see them talking about, by God, I'm American. I'm proud to be an American. I mean, they're proud of what they are. They love their country. The flag is blowing, and at the end of the evening, the bugler plays taps, and the lights gradually go down, and the Americans are moved, and their hearts are stirred with patriotism. That's what the drill competition does for us. It reminds us that the military discipline, the crack propensity of the Black man and woman to succeed together by cooperating in times of war and peace is inspirational to us, and it makes us proud and patriotic to be Muslims in the Nation of Islam. I love my nation like any other national of their country loves their country. You North Korean, you love your nation? That's cool. I love mine. You American, Russian, French, German, you love your nation? You Ghanaian, you're Nigerian, you're Ethiopian, you love your nation? That's good. I love mine. And my nation is the Nation of Islam. And that's what I try to bring out in the drill competition. And, and always to keep and be sure that we're always keeping up with the time. Well, that was something else, brother. That was something else.
Excellent. And thank you all for continuing to watch the People's Podcast as we go off the record with student minister Jamil Muhammad. Okay, Brother Minister, I have another question for you. Have you ever, besides the stabbing incident, faced a time, or I don't know if that was the time, but if you ever faced a time of fear and felt death threats, and if so, how did you have to overcome that?
Yes to the death threats. Yes to the pistols and all that. Never shot.
Brother Minister, we can't stop and say pistols and all that, and you can't just stay there. You can't just.
But no. There was a group of angry activists in the city of Philadelphia who came to my block looking for me with pistols. And that's, in those times, the gangsterism in some cities was so open, they would come to your house, show a pistol, and demand to see you at the door. So they walking up and down the street. I lived at 6213 Jefferson, and there was a sister who lived at 6201. These angry people didn't know which house I lived in, so they knocked on the doors until they found my house. So they thought. Our sister Krista, I'll never forget her. She opened the door at 6201. She knew that where we lived and what they were trying to do.
Yes, sir.
And when they asked, "Where's that so-and-so, Jamil? Where is he?" She said, "He don't get home until after dinner time." Now, I didn't live at their house, but she misdirected their attempt away from me and my children and my wife. And she took that risk on herself. So anything that she ever wanted in the city of Philadelphia was not good enough for her. She could get anything she wanted. To this very day, she was helpful in saving our lives from being threatened by gunplay. So yes, there were death threats, there were fights, there were little things. We didn't spill each other's blood, not that much. A fat lip and a big old a shiner on your eye and a little crooked nose, but it wasn't too much. Allah blessed us. One time we got in a fight with the police in Philadelphia. You heard that story, yeah?
No, sir, I did not. No, sir, I did not.
Oh boy. we were going to a doctor's appointment. We had that big long Fleetwood. Your brother Anthony had a big long, that's when Fleetwoods took two city blocks long. A white man with the cabriolet or Fleetwood broom, or as the brothers say, broham. So we pull up at the doctor's appointment in the middle of the day. Two of the brothers have gone in to get their place. Three of the brothers actually, and two of us come in afterwards. When we come into the lobby of the office building, the brothers are having a Donnybrook. They throwing down with the police. So we didn't say, "Wait a minute here, wait a minute. Why are you fighting now? What is this about?" We jumped in and got us some police. And I remember, and don't you all fight the police like that. Because I'm gonna tell you what the minister said after we got out that day. So we're fighting and we fight the police, and it felt good. I let out many of the 400 years of slavery and frustration came out that day in the rib cage of that one cop from West Philly. Blah, 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 blah. I mean, but the police have this thing they do, they call for backup, right? So they call for backup. The backup comes, wham, he rams. That's when the billy clubs had a perpendicular piece that allowed them to use it as a ramming rod, like that. So they didn't just beat you with it, they could ram it into you. They hit me with a kidney shot. I still remember that feeling. It wasn't very good. Hit me with a kidney shot, but I turned around to do that. I got punched again, and I remember the cuffs go on. We get in the car. We go to the 18th precinct out there on 55th and Pine. All the way in the car, one of our brothers, he calling the police a whole bunch of devils, and they keep turning around, slapping the mess out of him. Pow, pow, in the back seat. I said, let me be quiet. Let me just be quiet in this police car. We get to the police station, and somehow, when it comes up for the arraignment, we get out on our own recognizance.
Yes, sir.
One by one, not as a group. I have to report this to the minister. Josh, look at me. Yes, I have to report this to the minister.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Said, the minister heard what happened. He said, "Are you out of jail?" "Yes, sir." He said, "Now, brother, were you the aggressor? Were you and the brothers the aggressors?" I said, "No, sir, brother minister." Then he came through the phone. He said, "Doggone it, tell me the truth." I was shaking.
Mm.
I said, no, brother minister, we weren't the aggressor. Now he got silent. Then he said, was there any of the brothers? He asked me who was there. He said, did any of you not fight the devils? I said, no, sir, we all fought. He said, that's good. Because if there had been one among you who had been attacked by them and yet was afraid to fight them, that one was going to be dismissed from the nation for life.
Wow.
He said, because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad don't brook no cowards in his ranks.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I said, woo. We all got to stay in the nation.
Praise be to Allah.
But you cannot be the kind of a person that when they do attack you, you don't fight them.
Yes, sir.
You know this from the stories of that happened a couple of years later in Washington, D.C.
Yes, sir.
With the dope busters and the various different things that we went through in that city. So yes, brother, that's reality. And so yeah, there were death threats, there were fights, there were issues with the police and the FBI and various different other people. But I mean, here we stand. We are with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Here we stand. And here, by Allah's grace, we will continue to stand for time immemorial.
Praise be to Allah. Okay, excellent. And thank you all for watching. Sister Brian, I saw your question. I'm coming to it later. I got it. Thank you all. And okay, Brother Minister, my next question for you is, what has been your parents? Could you please tell us who your parents are and how did they receive you accepting your own and being yourself?
I'm going to try to be brief as I can, Joshua. You know your grandparents. You know they're crazy. But when I first came to the temple in 1969 and brought home the parental consent form for me to begin activity as a junior FOI, my mother tore up the form in front of my face and said, boy, you out your mind. They don't believe in Jesus out there. She said, I like the brothers. They clean cut. They take care of their families. They're about their business. They handle it. I'm proud of them as black men, but they got to believe in Jesus. She thought that we didn't believe in Jesus.
Yes, sir.
So she tore up the phone. That's when I used to have to sneak back and forth to the mosque. We'll talk about that when we're not on the air. But I sneak in the mosque, slip in and get to teach, and then go home and change back into my sneakers and go back in the house. It was something else. But I will tell you, my brother called me from overseas. But I looked and Mom said no. So then when I get back with the minister in 78, I come home for the holiday break in the season that year. And I told my mother that I was a Muslim and I'm active. Now I'm a grown man. I'm 18. I'm grown.
Okay.
Do what I want to do.
Yes, sir.
18-year-olds think they're grown. They do. So I said, yes, I'm grown to do what I want to do. I'm at Howard. I'm a Muslim. My mother said, well, gather your things and leave my house. Because rather than you deny Jesus Christ, which is what she still thought we were doing, she said, I wish that you had never been born. Leave. That was a cold shot. That was a cold shot when she said it. She was 5 feet 1 inch of solid ice when she said that. Get out of here. So I gathered my belongings and put them in my luggage set, which was made by a Hefty. Put a twist tie on the top of it and went down to the train station and got back on the train for Washington. My mother called me about 4 or 5 weeks later. She said, I shouldn't have said what I said. She said, I read this paper you left here, this final call. She said, I respect what you're doing. She said, but I'm going to do what I do. I said, okay, yes, ma'am. So we started speaking again, thanks the Lord, for that. My father was never an open objector. He appreciated that I was doing things in the nation, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But the only thing he had an issue with was when the minister gave me the name Jamil. My father said, I ain't name you no damn Jamil, and so he had an issue with it. But then as he watched me work and do what I did under that name, toward the end of his life, he would introduce me to people. This is my son, Minister Jamil Muhammad. Like he was happy and proud. My brother, your Uncle Jared, a few years ago, found the first Yes, David, the cinch sack. Your brother found the first 62 pages, Josh. My brother, your uncle, found the first 62 pages of my father's Freedom of Information Act files from the FBI. And the first time I was mentioned in the FBI files, I was 5 years old. They mentioned me as your grandfather's son. They mentioned your mother as his daughter. She was 4.
Allahu Akbar.
We were in the FBI files, and we still don't give. Well, you know what I mean.
Yes, sir.
So they said that our father, in his role as the coordinator, rather, of the chairman of the Cincinnati chapter of SNCC, would travel to Nation of Islam rallies throughout the Midwest and be a guest speaker. This is in the 60s. They said that your grandfather, your papa, would also, at the Black Power meetings, he was the guy who raised the charity. Who knew? But it was interesting that he and our godfather, Mr. Thomas Porter, the great Tom Porter, who lives here in DC and is still a very active part of my life, he and my father were fighters, and they put that in us. And we knew we were going to do something black. We didn't know what it was going to be, but we knew we had to struggle for our people. But we thank Allah, myself and my little sister, your mother, that we ended up in the Nation of Islam. Wow. And we're trying to do something to help the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, excellent. And my next question for you, sir, is what has been your greatest trial since you and your tenure in the nation, and how did you overcome that?
I don't think I've overcome it. I'm still overcoming it.
Yes, sir.
The greatest trial is when you don't see a way to do what you know you were born to do. Sometimes you shoot your own self in the foot. It's not somebody else denying you opportunity.
Yes, sir.
It's you and the decisions that you make that take you off the path. Now, Joshua, you're a young man, and I say this to you and all the other young brothers that are coming up behind you.
Yes, sir.
When you make decisions in your life, moral decisions, spiritual decisions, stick to them. Allah forgives you sins, according to the Holy Quran in Surah 39, Ayah 53. Allah forgives sins altogether, but why make Allah go through the process of forgiving a whole lot of stuff? Do right. If I could do anything over in my life, I would do right. And I would do right by my family. I would stay home, and I would be a good husband and a good father. And I would do those things that I advise you young men to do. So I'm telling all of you, if I catch y'all catting around out there in the street and I catch you, I'm gonna grab your neck, because there's something greater at stake than you should waste your life away. I want you to know that if there was a trial that I've been tried by, it has been, pardon me, that the minister told me, he said, brother, get deep and start living and start having a call on Allah. This has been a great victory for me. He told me that when I was a young minister, I relied on my mind. The minister said, you're quick thinking and you're resourceful. You think quick on your feet, so you rely on that. But Allah don't want your mind. He wants your heart.
Yes, sir. Yes,
he
sir.
said, so you're going to have to go through some things, son. You're going to have to go through some things. And so the tears that I cried watered the growth of my Islam. Wow. And that is the test. That is the trial. I continue to make mistakes. I continue to make errors. I'm not perfect. I've done things that people disagree with. I've done things that people have been hurt by. I don't like that. So I'm striving to remove all those things out of my life and do what would make me pleasing to Allah. So I beg Allah for his forgiveness. And I ask deeply from my heart that if I have offended you, Joshua, you my nephew, maybe I did offend you. I don't know. Maybe there was one time I had you take out the trash, one time too many. I don't know. But if I've offended you or anyone else on this connection tonight, I beg Allah that he will put in your heart the seed of forgiveness and cause us to be able to proceed once again as brothers and sisters. I'm not perfect, but I know that nobody else is, so I don't expect nobody to be perfect. And I'm looking for people that want to take steps together closer and closer to Allah. That's the aim. The old church song used to say, just a closer walk with thee. Mm-hmm. They had another one said, nearer my God to thee. Don't make me start singing gospel. You better ask it. Come on.
Yes, sir. Thank you all for watching. My next question for you, Brother Minister, is what has been your greatest joy in your tenure of the Nation of Islam?
Wow, there are so many. There are so many. There are so many great blessings. How do you count them all? They happen every day. They happen all the time. They happen just, and I can't stop the blessings from going. Even when I think I don't deserve a blessing, oh Allah, I'm not. I went to the minister one time, Josh. I said, Brother Minister, I called him from Baltimore. I said, you know, I got a problem spiritually, Brother Minister. I said, when I stand up in the morning to go on my prayer rug and make prayer, sometimes I just freeze. I said, because I think in my mind that Allah is saying, you know what? I don't want to hear from the likes of you, Jamil. Look at you. Now you want to get on the prayer rug and pray to me. Get out of here. That's what I felt. The minister said, come on out, we'll talk. So I got on a plane. I went to Chicago. I described what I just told you. And the minister said, brother, he said, the man you need to talk to, you didn't have to come to Chicago. He said, the man you need to talk to is back there in Baltimore with you. I said, who? I started thinking he was talking about Mayor Kurt Schmoke. Or I thought he was talking about the Reverend Frank Madison Reed.
Yes,
or the
sir.
Reverend Arnold Howard from Enoch Baptist Church. I didn't know who he was talking about.
Yes, sir.
He said, the man you need to see is right there in Baltimore. I said, who? He said, Master Fard Muhammad. He said, don't make the mistake, beloved, of thinking that you can put Allah on the same level with you and me. He said, you know how we are as a people. If you do one thing to us, one time, you got one chance to mess up. After that, you're done. We cut you off, and we do it in a very vicious way.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He said, Allah is not like that. He said, Allah told you if you take one little step to him, and I'm telling all y'all this, if you think you're mired in sin and mistakes and messed up, and you can't do nothing except hold on to the front, that you are 100% totally to the law, but behind the front, you're struggling.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Take a little step toward Allah. Take 2 or 3 little baby steps. Put on your stride rights. Put on your Buster Browns and take 2 or 3 little baby steps. And as soon as you step toward Allah, Allah will run toward you with open arms.
Praise be to Allah.
And embrace you in his forgiveness. Wow. So that 39th surah, ayah 53, I'm giving y'all some homework. Go read that.
Yes, sir.
Go read it, because Allah tells us that he forgives sins altogether. Yes, and imposes only the condition that we be found striving to obey, to love one another, to help build this great community called the Nation of Islam. Praise so this is something that the gift is so great. The gift is so powerful. When the minister made me one of his national spokespersons, I came to him that Monday after he did that on a Saturday. I came to him in the office. I said, Brother Minister, I can't accept this great honor. It's the greatest honor I've ever been offered, but I can't accept it. Because my life does not equal up to what you teach. And if it becomes knowledge of the way that my life has taken these turns, it may seem that you taught us this. And I can't have that, because that would throw aspersions on the nation. So thank you, dear brother minister, but I can't accept it. And the minister sat there, you know, I hold his hand like this. He sat there, he said, are you finished, brother? I said, yes, sir. He said, brother, you are not sufficient as a judge of your own self. Because you are not your own servant, you are Allah's servant. So let him do the judging.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He said, in the meantime, when I send you to work, go to work.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He said, brother, don't you know that Allah has a warehouse full of forgiveness stored up for you because you tried to help me in this mission?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah.
He said, you still got to clean up the mess. Oh, because I was making the mess. You still got to clean up the mess. He said, but in the meantime, when I send you to work, go to work. He said, and remember that Allah forgives who he want to forgive. The hardest part, dear brother and sister, is when you can't forgive yourself.
Yes, sir.
The hardest part is for you to learn to say, all right, self, that's enough. I've been acrobatic and flexible and limber enough to kick my own behind for a long time. But don't kick your own behind anymore. Try your best to get up and dust yourself off and get back in the fight against the enemy and make a change for Black America. So that there are too many blessings, brother. But I want y'all to know that whatever you did yesterday, Allah takes your sin and ball it up. This is what he do with your sin. Because he don't care nothing about your sin. He take your sin like this. He ball it up. Then he go out by the beach and take your sin and throw it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Deep into the sea of forgetfulness. Allah don't care nothing about what you say you did wrong. If you're striving to do right, get up, Black man and woman. Get up and do right. Allah is with you. He is. That's what I would say. I got blessed. I got blessed.
Okay, Brother Minister, my next question is, how was your time like in your tenure in Atlanta?
Atlanta is a great mosque number 15.
Yes, sir.
Man, I think Atlanta is a great, since we're being honest, right?
Yes, sir.
Atlanta was a great physical output for us. We had great attendance at our mosque meetings. We helped the minister with great projects like the number 2 pour, the Savior's Day gift drive, the same stuff that made Atlanta pop, and it still pops today. Atlanta was always doing something.
Yes, sir.
It wasn't me. It wasn't just me. It was Minister Van. It was Minister Sali. It was Minister Sharif. It was Minister Ava. It was Minister Ray. Oh, don't matter. Atlanta's Atlanta. It's Mosque 15. So I came to know some of the great laborers and helpers, too many to mention, at Mosque number 15 in Atlanta. But Atlanta, relating to my previous answer, Atlanta was a place we had great outward victories. But myself, I was beginning to shut down. The minister, no, don't be sad, Josh. It's all right now.
You can't say something like that.
No, but listen now. I was beginning to shut down. This was around the same time that I told you I went to the minister's office and said, I can't accept this. See, my life was crumbling personally because of bad decision making. See, if you can't tell the truth, don't come on no TV show and act like you're going to be, this ain't the Dick Van Dyke show.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This is not the Beverly Hillbillies or something you watch on Me TV. It's real life.
Yes, sir.
In Atlanta, things were going great. But the minister said in closing the gap, he saw that in Atlanta, he had to make a change. Doesn't necessarily mean that the minister was so dissatisfied with me that he hated me. But in order for me not to destroy my own self, the minister shut me down and brought me to Chicago. And in my place, he placed Dr. Ava Muhammad and made history for the world of Islam anywhere on the planet. So Atlanta for me was a great, it was a great and a dreadful day. It's like the book of Malachi, you know? Yes. It was a great and dreadful day. And I remember coming up out of Atlanta, striving, working. I tried to do good. I hope that Allah blessed us to do some good there. Myself and Sister Charlene and Captain Curtis and Sister Carolyn and Brother Darrell and all the brothers and sisters, Sister Lisa and all that we tried to labor. Exactly. And Atlanta is in good hands today, and it's okay. So yeah, but see, me, I learn lessons. And sometimes you got to learn from a hickey right here or a hickey over here. I'm just trying to keep from getting too many more hickeys. I'm getting too darn old to be getting hickeys every day. I ain't with it. Not with it.
Okay, excellent. I want to take this time to thank, of course, you for letting myself and Mimi, come stay with you all when we went to Redan. But Camilla, Carmen, Leonard, and of course, Aunt Milla. Atlanta. My childhood is of you. That's why I remember y'all being in Atlanta, and I loved Atlanta, coming to visit y'all when y'all were here. Boom.
And you remember though, Josh, that when you would come to Atlanta, you spent a lot more time with Aunt Miller than you did with me.
Yes,
because I never was there.
yes, sir.
You know, my son, it was a bittersweet moment this past year, Savior's Day. My son has a beautiful family, 3 children, a beautiful wife, and they were coming in to Savior's Day, and Lenny was doing his folding up the stroller and putting his children in the van to go to the hotel. And I said, son, that's great. You're doing dad stuff. I said, I remember doing dad stuff. And my son looked at me and said, Dad, you didn't do no dad stuff. All you did was ministry stuff. I said, damn. I said, the guy's right. But don't you all become imbalanced. It's God first, then family, then nation.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
God first, then family, then nation. And put God in family and in nation, and you'll be all right.
Wow,
But that's the order. Don't put your nation before your family. Don't get twisted like that.
Yes, sir.
Because you put yourself out of order and then you start getting confused about God.
Yes, sir.
So it's God first, then family, and then nation.
Absolutely. Right? And that's a perfect segue to my next question about fatherhood. But once again, I want to thank all of your children for their sacrifice, and of course, Amila as well. What advice would you give to future fathers, Brother Minister?
Be around. Try to be around. And I have to say this, Joshua, because Allah don't like us to not give the proper credit at the proper time.
Yes, sir.
When you say you thank Allah for me and all my children, I love me some Jamila Muhammad.
Yes, sir.
My first wife of my youth. But I would be remiss if I did not thank my other children's mother, Sister Sharice.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right? For
yes,
bearing those children for me and for rearing them.
Absolutely.
Not ashamed of any of my children. The circumstances might have been crazy as a Belgian waffle on a hamburger bun. But I tell you what, Allah has blessed us to get here.
Yes, sir.
I thank Allah for my children. I thank Allah for their mothers. I thank Allah for the opportunity to speak to you freely.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I don't hide nothing from nobody. My life either is going to be good for you or bad for you. But if it's going to be bad for you, stay the hell away from me.
Yes, sir. Yes,
don't hurt yourself. You see, but fatherhood means that you help to further your children. The minister said to us, he said, brothers, he said, I want you not to follow what I did because I devoted my entire life to the nation. And the messenger told me that Allah got your children. See, but all of us are not in the position like the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You can't leave your children. Who's going to teach your son to throw a curveball?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How are you going to teach him to slip punches?
Yes, sir.
And counter punch?
Yes, sir.
Or whatever they teach little girls, like, and children, little girls need to know how to counter punch too.
Yes, sir.
Or throw a curveball.
Yes, sir.
Don't you dare let your children become a footnote to your life. I thank Allah for my children forgiving me. They forgave me. They said, Dad, we still love you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
They said, Dad, you did some wild stuff, but we still love you.
Praise be to Allah.
Ain't that good? Ain't God good?
Yes, sir.
All praise is due his holy name. I thank Allah for my children. When they see this, I hope they see me say that. I thank Allah for my children and for you all, Joshua, my nieces and nephews and my little baby cousins out in Cincinnati. They put up with a lot to have me in their life. And I love you all so much.
And we love you more, sir.
So yeah, fatherhood, that means love your babies. Love up on them. Love their mama. Take care of their mama. If you love your children, marry their mama. If you're not married to her, marry the woman. You done had babies with her, marry her.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And make your marriage work and make it healthy and wholesome and strong. The Black Marriage Day is coming up later this month. I wanted to make sure I put that plug in. But this is the time. This is the time for us to do that. Love your family.
Yes, sir. Okay, excellent. My next question is speaking of Leonard, and I saw Carmen's daughter earlier this year. I got to see Camilla's children and Leonard's children and family at Savior's Day. How has a grandfather, being a grandfather, changed your outlook on things and, How is
Well,
it being a grandfather?
as my 4-year-old told me, my 4-year-old granddaughter told me, "You're not a grandfather. You're a pop pop." So being a pop pop is the joy of my life. And I want to say to all my children who might see this, when you leave your children with me, we're going to get jelly beans, pizza, we're going to get ice cream. We're going to drive too fast. I'm going to let them bikes with no helmets. You know, these children today, they got helmets on bikes. They got helmet on no bike. Just get on the thing and ride, you know? What's the concussions every now and then? Ain't no thing. So I want to make sure that my grandchildren feel the fullness of my love for them and my gratitude for their beautiful parents and raising them. My children married such beautiful spouses. I love my son-in-law, Darren, my son-in-law, Chris, my daughter-in-law, Sophia, and my whole family and all the grandchildren, all the in-laws. We have a good time. And of course, it's important to marry the right people so that you can have successful cookouts in the summer. You don't want to have the wrong people at your cookout to mess up the whole vibe, you know. So we got good cookouts, the food is good, and we have older cousins and aunties to make the right kind of tater salad. So what more do you need in a Black family? Excellent. So we are thankful, and I'm glad to be a grandfather, grateful and blessed and happy and thankful to Almighty Allah.
Yes, sir. I just have a few more questions for you, Brother Minister. Mimi says White Hen Pantry and Pajama for the pajamas that you used to take.
Yes, taking children to the store with their pajamas on and an overcoat at 3 a.m. is what uncles and grandfathers do. It's what we do.
Uncle Chip is Chip.
You want a milkshake at 3 a.m.? Get you a milkshake. I mean,
Also, I want to tell this story about Sonny and Monty. They were with us one summer, and Mimi and I was trying to carry the tradition on from you, Minister, where Sonny said, Sonny, I got to drop somebody off. And she was like, oh, I want to go. So I'm like, okay, come ride. So we all go, and I drive, and she gets back, and Naima's outside. She was like, you let her sit in the front seat? I'm like, she couldn't sit in the front seat? I'm so confused. I don't know. I don't know the rules. I didn't know what was going on.
He was co-piloting.
I was like, man, she's on the ride.
When he says Sonny and Imani, he's talking about my 18-year-old twins, Isan and Imani. And when they were little, they were something. He was some pistols right there. Oh, man, and they wanted to be involved in everything with their big cousins. And I pray, Allah, that you all always get together and stay together as a family.
Yes, sir.
Don't let nobody take you apart from each other. The circumstances of each other's birth and conception and what should have happened and what shouldn't have. Hell, it all happened now, and you're here. So love each other. You got the same love in each other. You know, let's do the right thing. All right.
Absolutely. My next question is, what do you do for fun, Brother Minister?
Hell, everything. everything I do is for fun, son. Everything I do. Why shouldn't you have fun while you're doing things? You know. I mean, I love my discography collection. I love my records. I love doing the Yardbird Suites edition of the Morning Brew on WPFW every Tuesday morning from 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. With Brother Askia Muhammad. If you don't have the WPFW app, go get it and tune us in. Early in the morning, Tuesday mornings, we have a great time with jazz and justice and conversation. So yeah, I like to travel. I like to read. I like to do everything. But everything I do should be fun. I don't like to be working hard and you be frowning. You can work hard and still be smiling. Hey, you know what I mean? You can still be getting down. So that's what I'm looking for. Enjoy yourself, because you're gonna be dead a long time. You might as well enjoy yourself now. Laugh and have a good time. Oh, did I also mention I love to study comedy. I love to study comedy, and I love to study comedians over the history. And I tell you, that y'all can dispute with me if you want to, because I know we have excuse me, some Henny Youngman people out here. I know, but the king of the one-liner is still Rodney Dangerfield. The king of the one-liner. He's the king of the one-liner. Okay, all right.
Okay, excellent. My next question for you is, what has been your favorite encounter with a celebrity over all these years?
Celebrity. Well,
I know the minister's only celebrity. I know that. And I know the answer.
That's the stock answer. That's the stock answer. Yes, the minister's only celebrity. I did meet Nancy Wilson. and Hart Plaza in Detroit
Mm.
about 20 years ago when she was doing a concert. And I mean, I stood this close to Nancy Wilson, and I was gonna say stuff, right? I was gonna be witty, I was gonna be humorous, I was gonna be suave, but I was like, because that's Nancy Wilson, okay? You don't know, you don't know, you don't know how glad I am. Nancy Wilson.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I met Nancy Wilson. I remember, of course, like sometimes the celebrities become your friends, like Chuck D and Flavor Flav and Public Enemy. Like, so those are like my brothers. And so
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
every experience I have with them is good. And the celebrities that are developing now in the nation. You got people that are developing celebrity status in the nation. These are my friends and brothers. What other? I'll tell you what. Now Anita Baker was good. She was really nice, really sweet, humble, kind of quiet. You know, what I mean, little bitty thing. You know, that haircut, bam. Taper was in effect. You know what I mean? So you know, so yeah, Sister Anita Baker was always great. But you know, celebrities. You know, I mean, hey, James Brown. It was wonderful to run into Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown had a mind of his own way of doing everything. But he was fascinating. Yeah, I mean, everyone that comes around now. I'll tell you one celebrity. I might have to look his name up. Write this name down, John.
Yes, sir.
His name is DJ Rogers. DJ Rogers, it was a moderately successful recording artist in the 70s and 80s on RCA Records. He's a producer, and he came up out of the church. But DJ Rogers had very inspirational music, like "Love Brought Me Back" and you know, "It's All Right Now, I'll Make It Anyhow."
Yes, sir.
"Say
Yes, sir.
You Love Me." Those kinds of things. And one time when he was at the palace, the minister was hosting him, and this was a great opportunity for me to put some shine on his celebrity, which other people didn't know.
Yes, sir.
And then we were in the little parlor area about to go over to the dining table, and I saw DJ Rogers, and I walked up behind him and I said, but one Tuesday evening, love brought me back. Now that's a lyric from one of his songs that you have to be a fan to know.
Yes, sir.
And he snapped his head around, said, "Man, what you know about that?" And we started singing the song together. You know, it's just a few bars. And he was so honored that someone knew his music and felt the inspiration of his music, you know, to get better. And he sat at the table that night, and I remember him telling the minister with such love in his eyes, he said, "Brother minister, you got the gift of music. It's not just a gift, it's a weapon against falsehood." He said, "Use it, brother minister. Shoot him with the music. Hit him with the music, because nobody can deny you." That's right, Sister Brown. Just say you love me. That's right. Yeah. DJ Rogers, that same DJ Rogers. But
Yes,
so yes, everybody, you know, the Temptations, and I mean, I met them all, and they all came around, and everybody was nice, and Big Daddy Kane was cool, and you know, I'm talking about the BIGDA double DYKE. You know what I mean? King Asiatic, none equal. Yeah, I mean, but it's all of that, man. So everybody that comes around the minister begins to be humble, no matter how great their career is going. And so, you know, whatever that is, you know, I'm just honored and just honored beyond words to have walked with that man.
Yes, sir. Just two more questions for you, Prime Minister. My last question is, how has your faith sustained you for so long? And what advice would you give to the, this is a combination question, I got one more after this one, to the younger people coming up after you to keep, you know, 10 toes down in their faith?
10 toes down is an interesting phrase.
Yes, sir.
How has it happened? I don't know how. But the grace of God, the mighty mercy of Allah. And I beg him in my prayer, please let me be a believer. Let me continue to persist in belief. Let me continue to believe in you who appeared in the person of Master Muhammad. Please, Allah. And so Allah has blessed me to continue to believe. I've seen too many victories that Allah has given to his servant in our midst, the Messiah today, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Yes,
I've seen too many victories that Allah has given to the minister and who has given to us who are with the minister. I've seen too many times when we were in positions that we were thought to be unable to escape from. You can't beat up 6 Philadelphia police officers
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
and then walk around in that city.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But Allah freed us from anything other than what was right because we were never the aggressors.
Allahu Akbar.
What has given me faith is that I've seen and had a chance to walk with great men and women.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Some of them are not here anymore. I thought about Brother George X. Powell in Philadelphia, Brother Captain Bobby, Brother Captain Sterling. These great men
Yes,
who
sir. Yes, sir.
stood on this path. Sister
Yes,
Mashallah. These great men and women who stood for Islam. Sister Captain Mamie Houday Sharif. Yeah. So many. Brother Captain Wali from Los Angeles.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The editor, Brother Abdul Wali.
Yes, sir.
So many. Allah bless my life, brother. I met the greatest people in all of the universe, hands down. Do you think that they grow Brother Naba on a tree? Brother Naba, the editor of the Final Call. Do you think they grow him on trees?
No, sir. I never
He
seen
used
that
to be
tree.
known as Brother Richard Muhammad. You know what I'm talking about, the editor. That's a hard-nosed cat.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He's straight up the man.
Yes, sir.
And I'm telling you, so many of you, as I watch you come in the comment section, Sister Veronica and Brother Pharaoh and Brother Michael, all of you, Captain Gregory, yes, all of those great ones. I've had a chance to know you, work with you. Abdul Rahman.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Huh?
Yes, sir.
Man.
Yes, sir.
I love to sit at Savior's Day and with him and Minister B.I. They be sitting in the lobby and the young believers be coming up asking for advice. They love it. Both of them just smiling.
Praise be to Allah.
The Minister B.I. was saying, "You remember that, Rock? You remember the time that it happened, Rock?" And Miss Rock, I said, I do, B.
Yeah.
See that love, that brotherhood, that love. Oh, man, you can't get this nowhere.
Yes, sir.
You can't get this nowhere. Ain't no club, association, fraternity, or none of that. But the FOI.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Allah blessed me to be an FOI my whole life.
Allahu Akbar.
Allah must like me a little bit.
Yes, sir.
Huh?
Yes, sir.
Shoot. Man, Josh, I'm about to get the Holy Ghost in. You better say something. You better ask something else for the Holy Ghost comes.
Yes, sir. My last.
If you don't want to be a Muslim today, your brain must be in your foot.
Yes, sir.
What are you thinking about?
Yes, sir.
You don't want love. You don't want brotherhood. You don't want cooperation. You don't want success.
Yes,
you
sir.
don't want the benefit. How could you not cry when you watched this past 2 Saturdays ago? The graduation class of the FOI and the MGT march into the room in Detroit, seemingly an endless flow of men and women getting up out of the grave, standing up on their own to be Muslims. I'm a witness to that.
Yes, sir.
Sometimes I got something to do with it every now and then, a little kind of way. Man, Allah loves me to let me be here with this.
Yes, sir.
I ain't got no time to hate none of you. How you gonna tell the minister you love him, but you hate the brothers and sisters that's with him?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Then you're gonna say this is the army of God. No, it ain't. It's a bunch of ragtag band of ruffians, a motley crew that don't even get along with each other.
Yes, sir.
Nah, man. Set or write your differences. The other homework I'm gonna give y'all. This is the 8th surah of the Holy Quran. Read verses 1 through 4. Surah 8, Al-Anfal, the voluntary gifts, verses 1 through 4. Huh? You better understand what I'm trying to tell you.
Yes, sir.
Allah is God. And every day of our lives, we see this, especially when we look at the perfect reflecting glass in our midst, the Messiah in our midst. That's Louis Farrakhan.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I seen the minister tired, woe out, bent, spent. But within a few moments, he come before the people, he get himself together. Let me tell all you something. If you hypocrites and enemies are watching, this is for you bastards right here. The minister is suffered for us. He doesn't have his internal organs functioning properly. Radiation has burned his insides out. Yet at age 86 and nearly 87, he stands up to teach you and me the truth that could save our life. If we catch any of you going against him and not giving him the respect that he deserves, then the problem will be yours, not ours. You're not going to turn on the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and treat him like he's some kind of average Negro and he suffered for you. Look at the book of Isaiah, the 53rd chapter. His stripes heal us.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He's bruised for our iniquity.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That is. This is a man that is a righteous man. but we treat him like he's an entertainer. He ain't no entertainer.
That's right. That's right.
That's God's man on the straight path. We should accept him. And the way we show him that we would accept him is to accept one another. Beautiful. With our holy, I'm not talking about holy righteous, I'm talking about holy full of holes. With our holy brotherhood, beat up sisterhood. I don't like her, she don't like me, and I know I don't deal with her, she don't deal with me. We go in two separate entrances to the mosque on Saturday morning for NGT class because we know we don't get. Shut up. Come to Allah and come to the table of brotherhood, and don't get up until you're sisters. Don't get up until you're brothers. Don't get up until the beef has been squashed and the spirit is in you once again to rise up a mighty army for Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam. Everything you do is for Allah. Everything you do is for Allah. We ain't no daggone shirt worshipers.
That's right.
We don't worship no God but Allah. We don't worship Farrakhan. We love him as well we should. But the credit that is due to him is that he teaches us to be Muslims. Yes.
Okay. One last question for you, Brother Minister. What do you want your legacy to be, sir?
Islam. That's all I want. That I taught my children Islam, that my children and grandchildren are with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and that they're throwing a rock at the enemy. That's all I want. All I want is for my family. You know, brothers make fun of me. I was talking to my dear brother, Brother Minister Richard, who's out in California. He used to be in Cleveland, Ohio. Okay, yes, and Minister Richard said to me, he said, you know what, brother? He said, you are a Nation of Islam fundamentalist. I said, what that mean? He said, you're a fundamentalist. He said, I noticed that in everything that you're trying to do, you may not always succeed at it. He said, but you're trying to find a way to do what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said. And if there's something that happens in life, you're going to consult what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad wrote. Somebody asked me one time to do a wedding, and the wedding was big and lavish and expensive. I did the wedding. The wedding cost this couple about $25,000. The couple was married for about 14 months. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, go to the justice of peace and go home. Avoid spending all this money on lavish weddings and the band and the caterer and the costumes and the bridesmaids. How many bridesmaids you got? 24. Come on. Now, we all have had weddings. I've had them in my family. Yes, but I'm telling you that Honorable Elijah Muhammad's way is always the best way. Other ways may be good, but I want to be able, for my legacy, to put my own mind into the ability to submit to Allah. I wrestle with myself, Josh, because I want to submit to Allah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I don't want to be a rebel against Allah, even in private.
That's right.
But I remember the words of the great minister Jeremiah Shabazz, who was my predecessor as the minister of Mosque number 12 in Philadelphia for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And Minister Jeremiah used to say, he said, brother, if it doesn't have anything to do with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, then I don't want anything to do with it. That's simple. I just came to follow the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I'm loyal. I believe in him. I believe in the God and the Christ that he has taught me of. I don't care nothing about nobody else. I may not be worth a dime, but I'm the property of Farrakhan.
Praise be to Allah.
I belong to him.
Yes, sir.
And if you don't see me with him, that means that I got put away from him. But I'll be right there hovering, trying to get myself right there where he can say to me, get me a glass of water. Where he can say anything to me. Hey, can you get that dust out of the corner? That'd be the cleanest corner in the whole building, anywhere else on the world.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because I want to do something to help the minister. I'd rather be a servant in the house of God than to be a ruler in some other house. I beg Allah to let me stay in the Nation of Islam. Let me just stay in the Nation of Islam. Let me just be right here. I may not be the person you see the most, and you don't do this no more, and you don't do that no more. It's okay. Times change. Things are developing. There's a new way to do things. But for me, I just want to be able to watch those things get done and help to get them done.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's the aim that I have in the nation.
Praise be to Allah. Well, I want to thank you very much, Brother Minister. I want to thank you all for watching the People's Podcast. Please like, subscribe, and share on YouTube. And Brother Minister, I learned, as I knew I would, so much more from you today than I ever knew. I only know, well, not only, but I know you as my uncle, who was just a nice person to, me and my siblings. So that's why I know you as. I didn't know the sacrifice in the New Orleans and I didn't know any of that. I just like, oh, Uncle Chip. So I thank you, Brother Minute.
Well, I tell you, Josh, two things. First off, I want to start on a light note, thanking you for wearing the vintage Cincinnati Reds cap
Absolutely.
featuring Mr. Redlegs from the oldest professional baseball team dating back to 1869. And then I want to say to Allah how much I appreciate the opportunity to be on this show. And I pray that what I have said has been pleasing to Allah, and that if it has not been, that He will forgive me. And I pray that if I made some sense, that you all understand.
Yes, sir.
That came from Allah. The foolery, that came from me. Yes, but I'm striving, and I want you to strive too. Come on, let's lock arms on the road to Allah and march together. You stumble, I'm gonna pull you up out the dirt. I stumble, you pull me up out the mud. And let's keep pushing. Let's keep pushing together. We all we got, but thank Allah, we all we need.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So let us go into this world and into this fight now as this world goes out. And we witness the unraveling of a great nation called America. Let's make sure that we don't unravel our great nation called the Nation of Islam.
Yes, sir.
And hold on to the yarn of our faith so it does not unravel. And remember that it is our righteousness that will sustain us.
Yes, sir.
Even if you only got a little bit of righteousness. Some people, I ain't got too much righteousness. Even if you got a little bit, that little bit of righteousness, settle on that and grow it, and it will sustain you. Okay? Now, some people think of themselves, I have very much righteousness. I have a lot. I'll be surviving. Okay, whatever that person thinks, okay, cool. I don't know how much righteousness I got, but I bet you one thing, I'm going to put it to use and do the best that I can do so that when the minister returns, he sees me standing there looking at him.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He sees me smiling, Hey, welcome back, brother minister. He going to be like, I love you, son, but I got to take care of this business. You see the sword in my hand? I'll get back to you in a few.
Yes, sir.
Minister ain't playing.
That's right. And
we can't play either. All right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, and love you very much, Brother Minister Jamil.
You said Uncle Chip like 4 times on the broadcast. It's okay. It's all right. It's okay. I love you so much, and I love you. Look, let me tell you, love everybody. Get your mother to tell you the story about when she first came home from the hospital from being born. I was disoriented. I didn't know what the little thing in the blanket was. Like, what is this?
Yes,
like, is it a new teddy bear, a panda? What is it? But I got used to her, and she's my precious sister, the great Sharifa Muhammad. Please give her my love and tell her that I'll be down to see her soon. I'm glad she charged her phone. She actually called me yesterday. I was excited, But that's my little sister, and I just, look, Muslims, I love you. I love you. If you love Allah and the Messenger, Min Farrakhan, I adore you. If you're a hypocrite, no good Negro, I will take you out back and wear you out with a 2x4.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
In love.
Praise be to Allah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you all for watching. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.